Imagine this. It's a foggy winter night in Assam, and you're on a rattling bus leaving Guwahati. Headlights slicing through tall elephant grass by the Brahmaputra. You step down onto a lonely road, the city's noise replaced by crickets and the distant call of a temple bell. A worn-out signboard reads, "Welcome to Mayong, land of black magic." Somewhere beyond the darkness lie India's very own Hogwarts of dark arts, a place where, locals say, armies vanished, men turned invisible, and copper plates ate pain out of your spine. They say even the name of this place hints at what it hides. Some villagers will tell you Mayong comes from the Sanskrit Maya, meaning illusion. It's an apt label for a land where nothing is quite what it seems. Others trace it to the Damasa word, Mayong, meaning elephant, tying it to old elephant corridors that once crisscrossed these floodplains. Another, more esoteric explanation links it to Mongo, a body part of the mother goddess, suggesting this soil is part of the goddess's own yoni, charged with Shakti and Tantra. Whichever story you choose, one thing is clear. For centuries, Mayong hasn't been famous for farming or weaving. Like other Assamese villages, its inheritance is stranger. Here, elders didn't just pass down land or craft, they passed down mantras, secret spells, and ritual techniques, whispered from guru to Shisha in the dark, turning the whole village into what writers now call the ancient Hogwarts of India. Walk through Mayong's lanes in the daytime, and it looks deceptively normal. Kids cycling to school, women drying rice, fishermen mending nets by the river. But listen closely, and you'll hear legends hiding in casual conversation. People talk about Vashikaran mantras that could bend someone's will, Luki mantras to vanish into thin air, Nidra mantras to put a person into deep sleep, and Udin mantras that could let a practitioner fly to their lover's doorstep. A rogue wild elephant terrorized these fields until a Mayong sorcerer simply drew a diagram on the ground, chanted a few lines, and the beast knelt like a tamed dog. Others claim sorcerers here could turn humans into animals, tame tigers, or melt bullets in midair before they hit their target. No CCTV, no lab report, just stories passed from one scared generation to the next. And then there are the war stories, the ones that turn Mayong from local rumor into national legend. One of the most chilling tales dates back to 1337 CE, when Muhammad Shah is said to have sent an army of nearly 100,000 horsemen to push into the Assam kingdom of Assam. According to folklore, that mighty Mughal force never made it past the jungles of Mayong. The army rode in and simply vanished. No mass grave, no abandoned armor. It was as if the forest swallowed them whole, guided by the mantras of Mayong's occultists. Chronicles like the Alamgir Nama later recorded how Aurangzeb's generals hesitated to attack Assam, not only because of the fierce Ahom warriors, but because of this eerie village, whose reputation for witchcraft preceded it. Whether armies truly disappeared or disease, terrain, and guerrilla tactics did the job, one effect was undeniable. Even the Mughals, who crushed kingdoms across the subcontinent, learned to fear the land of black magic. But Mayong's past isn't all disappearing soldiers and love spells. The folklore gets much darker. Villagers still whisper about Noro Boli, human sacrifice, supposedly practiced here in ancient times, to please spirits or supercharge magical power. At the Mayong Central Museum and Emporium, you can see heavy, curved swords called dakar that locals claim were once used in these rituals, their blades thick enough to fall a buffalo or a man. Some stories say that practitioners of the most forbidden rites had to confess all their dark deeds before dying, or else their souls would be trapped forever between worlds, doomed to wander the fields and fairy ghats of Mayong, neither fully in this life nor the next. Archaeologists who've dug in the area have unearthed old weapons and relics that resemble sacrifice tools seen in other parts of India, adding just enough physical evidence to keep the rumors alive. Yet if you arrive expecting only satanic cults and horror movie witches, Mayong will wrong-foot you. Locally, the magicians are not called wizards. They're known as Oja or bees. Traditional healers who use mantra, ritual, and herbs to treat illness, remove evil eye, or find lost objects. One famous remedy, described in countless travel accounts, involves placing a copper plate on the back of a patient bent in pain. The healer murmurs verses, and the plate begins to move, eating the pain as if it were alive. If the suffering is severe, villagers say, the plate heats up and suddenly shatters on the ground, sign that the evil has been forced out. Others talk about bees who can locate a stolen item or missing cow by reciting mantras over seashells, broken glass, or rice grains scattered on the floor, interpreting the patterns they form. To an outsider, it looks like performance. To the believer, it's survival. Scholars who've studied Mayong describe it not just as a den of black magic, but as a living archive of an older healing system. One that mixes Hindu Tantra, folk belief, and indigenous rituals into something uniquely Assamese. Research papers trace its roots to texts like the Kalika Purana and Yogini Tantra, written when the region of Kamarupa was a major center of goddess worship and esoteric practices. Mayong sits not far from Kamahaya, and many believe that proximity helped it grow into a symbolic headquarters of mantra culture, a place where spells weren't just used to harm, but also to cure, protect, and exorcise.
Oh yeah.
In interviews, local historians point out that Tantra and mantra existed across Assam. Mayong simply became the most famous brand, its landscape, isolation, and legends combining to cement its image as the land of black magic. If you really want to feel that history in your bones, you have to step inside the Mayong Central Museum, an emporium of black magic and witchcraft. Opened around 2002 right in the village, from the outside, it's a modest structure near Raja Mayong, but inside, photography is restricted for a reason. The displays are like walking into a physical horror archive. Behind glass, you'll see skulls, old coins, bone bracelets, amulets made from shells and metal rings, ritual knives, and bundles of strange herbs once used in spells. The most prized pieces are the mantra puthis, brittle manuscripts written on sanchi pot or tree bark leaf, dating from roughly the 13th to 19th centuries. It's inscribed with secret formulas and scripts most villagers can no longer read. Guides tell you that many of the most powerful incantations were never written down at all. They died with their masters, leaving only fragments trapped in these fading pages, and in the stories elders still tell by firelight. Today, Mayong walks a strange tightrope between fear and tourism. It lies just about 40 kilometers from Guwahati and close to the famous Pabatora Wildlife Sanctuary. So day trippers now bundle Black Magic Village and one-horned rhino safari into a single Instagram-worthy outing. Villagers, who once hid their practices from outsiders, now sometimes stage magic demos, simple rope tricks, illusion games, or harmless mantras for curious visitors, half laughing, half serious. Officials and academics insist that overt black magic rituals are no longer practiced openly, that what survives are mostly harmless healing customs and cultural performances, and yet, if you talk to people long enough, especially off-camera, someone will quietly admit they still go to an oja at night when doctors fail, or that certain mantras for control or for protection are definitely not for tourist eyes. There's also a growing counter-narrative from rationalists and local voices, who are tired of their home being branded the darkest village of India. A recent investigative video by a Hindi channel, for example, dug into colonial records, anthropology, and psychology to argue that many of Mayong's bloodiest stories are exaggerated. That while there is evidence of violent tantric rituals and maybe even human sacrifice under old regimes, today, only animal sacrifice survives at nearby shrines, and even that is decreasing. They point out that fear, ignorance, and caste gender politics have historically turned certain practitioners, especially women, into witches, leading to persecution in the name of stopping black magic. At the same time, they admit the manuscripts, the tools, and the oral histories are real. There really were traditions of mantra-based healing, exorcism, and possibly destructive rituals here, even if modern tour operators now market them like ghost house attractions. So where does that leave you, the visitor standing in the dusk of Mayong? Maybe you've just watched a copper plate slide strangely across an old man's back as a bee's muttered words you didn't understand. Maybe you've just walked past rows of swords in the museum, each one heavy enough to end a life in a single swing, and stared at bark paper pages filled with symbols no one can fully decode anymore. Is this really a village of dark arts? A place where armies vanished and people flew? Or is it a village of stories, where suggestion, fear, and faith weave illusions stronger than any rope trick? Tell me in the comments if you've got the chance. Would you dare spend a night alone in Mayong? Not in a tourist homestay, but in a real village courtyard? listening to the Oye's chants swell and fade in the distance? If this journey into Assam's village of dark arts pulled you in, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Silent Conspiracy, and hit the bell icon.